the legitimate, real thing that I had wanted to talk about.
Oh, if you're a Muslim or Hebrew.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So, we constantly hear these sisters who are Muslim or Israelite, and they are shocked when their husbands either want a new wife or bring one
they pass
home.
out.
Yes. They're very devastated. And it's a lot of crying and gnashing of teeth. And they are trying to figure out, you know, they're trying to figure out where they went wrong. Whether or not they're enough for him, and if that's the problem. Maybe he doesn't love them no more, he's tired of them and wants to replace them, and all these types of things.
Why does that always come up? Why is it always, am I not enough? Am I not good enough?
Because they don't, the real reason is they don't understand that polygyny is, does not happen because somebody is not enough. It simply does not happen for that.
Message.
It's not. That's not the capacity that this all works in. So when you think that a man got another wife because the first one wasn't enough, that's a misnomer. That's incorrect. That's erroneous. So it's simply in a man's nature. Humans are polygynous. And it's just in his nature to want to have other women. And I mean, now we're going off on a tangent, but all the world's richest men from the beginning of time, all the men that were, I'm saying it like this, but I could go further, but all the men that are able to provide and protect multiple women on a large scale. He's got all the money and all the provisions and things like that. He is typically the one that has more than one wife. And it's always been like that. Our leaders today have mistresses and things like that, and it's known and it's understood that's how it's going to be. In other countries, in America, we just like, oh my gosh, we're always in shock. Mm-hmm. But it's like, this is always going on. France I'm saying they're okay with it. Like, I'm pretty sure some French person will be like, we're not okay. But, you know, it just seems to me like they're okay with it. So that's the reason that comes up. But it's in a man's nature to want more than one wife. So here's the thing. But these women are so shocked that the husband now wants that, even though he told her that he was only wanting to be with her and it was going to be monogamy. So they want to hold him to that. So we've come to the conclusion that
if polygyny is in your religion anywhere, not even your religion, if polygyny, listen, you cannot be upset with a man who made a commitment in the beginning of your marriage, and you know, it's just me and you, boo. I don't want nobody else but you. You know what I mean? It's just us, and it's just we, and that's it. And that was before he became conscious. That was before he was thoroughly into his religion. That was before he saw and understood how practical it could be. You cannot fault him for changing his mind based on the new information that he has. And that's where a lot of sisters hold their men and their relationships hostage. Like, they are totally, like, devastated. And I understand the devastation. I'm not going to say you shouldn't be devastated. I get it. You know, you decided to be monogamous and you thought you were with a monogamous man. And
you're
plot
not.
twist.
You're not a plot twist.
He's not.
I mean, and so what we're suggesting is that you just, if you are a part of any of these belief systems, Islam, if you are Torah observant, so you're Hebrew Israelite or otherwise Torah observant, you just need to expect it.
It's on the table.
It's always going to be on the table, even if he told you that monogamy was the way to go.
No matter what.
No matter what he says. Just expect it. I'm not saying somebody was like, but there are many Muslim men who are happy in monogamy.
That is true.
That's true. But it seems just to happen so much that these men are bringing home wives, and these men are quote unquote changing their minds 10, 3, 5, 10, 20, 22 years down the line.
And sometimes the wife he's with changes his mind herself and says, hey, we've been together for 25 years. You know, you ever thought of this? You ever thought of that? What if we, you know what I mean? So it's suggested. And at that point in time, you know, a new covenant is made and you just have to move on with it.
Yeah, and all your covenants, all your agreements can be renegotiated.
Yes.
You know,
nothing is non-negotiable. I mean, there are some things that are non-negotiable. I can't say that.
Right. But
there are.
Yeah, but a lot of these things can be, a lot of the things we're talking about can be renegotiated. You know, so you just expect him to go ahead and want that in his life. And that way when it happens, there are like almost no surprises. Like, you should just mentally prepare yourself for it.
And don't make it a sin. Because y'all have a problem with making this a sin, and it's not. Y'all make it seem as though he's committing zina, he's being adulterous, he's being all these different things, but it's not, because you as a human being yourself, you as a mortal, have no right to say what is a sin. What are sins? Sins have already been laid out.
The Most High has already told you.
You cannot remix it. You cannot add to it. You cannot take away from it. Stop making this a sin.
You're not supposed to add or subtract from the laws, okay?
Unless God or Gabriel came and talked to you.
No, wait. And the debate begins.
Oh, no! I'm sorry! What is the Holy... okay.
No, man. That what she... Look, y'all don't even know what she brought to me before this camera came on. Like, we finna go deep. We about to go deep in both the Bible and the Quran. It's all sitting over there right now. It ain't ready.
I'm sorry.
But
I'm sorry.
But you know, so because y'all want to, one particular thing that y'all accuse them of is adultery, and I did make a video on it, but we have been reading some things today in these groups, in these comments, and clearly this is not being understood.
What is adultery? In Torah.
In Torah?
Yes. Or in
Hebraic thought. Adultery. And you can look it up, and I can give you all the verses that you want, but I would
put them down in the description.
Oh, look, I was like, I would hope that you would do your due diligence and study to show thyself approved.
Yes.
That's for you, okay? But adultery, the scriptures, Torah defines it as when a man, regardless of his marital status, has sex with a married or betrothed woman. That doesn't have anything to do, it doesn't have it. So my point is, if he runs into a single woman and he has sex with her, that is not adultery. If that woman is not married and she is not promised to someone, which is what betrothed means, then he has not committed adultery. So the onus is not on the man's marital status. It is completely on the woman's marital status. And I mean, I know that you think that the Bible does not make that very clear, but it actually makes it very clear. You gotta study, you gotta read. Go ahead.
Now, mine's is controversial because in Islam we have a lot of misinformation passed around from generations ago. And when adultery is mentioned, it's mentioned in the context of Israel and the people of Israel basically committing adultery when it came to God. They were attributing partners to Allah. They were worshiping other gods besides Allah. And so Allah said, you know, I don't want to misquote it because I'm not supposed to, but basically, you know, don't worship any god besides me. And that's when adultery is mentioned. people like to confuse adultery with zina, just like they like to confuse adultery with cheating. It's two different things. Zina is illicit sex. That can be depends on what school of thought you follow. So many schools of thought. We all know this. There's 73, maybe 78 schools of thoughts in Islam. So it depends on which one you follow. But some scholars consider kissing with the tongue as illicit sex. Mm-hmm. They consider lusting with the eyes as illicit sex. They consider wearing perfume as committing zina, because the thought is if you wear perfume and another man smells it outside of your husband, you've committed adultery. It's all mixed up. It's not right. So we need to be very clear and very certain of what adultery is and what zina is, because they're not the same.
Very nice. And I would also like to go a step further. I know you Israelites heard what she said, that the Quran talks about Israel and talks about Israel's adulterous nature.
Oh, yes.
From the Most High, because we know that definitely happened, that Israel went off and committed adultery with these other gods. We know that happened, and I just want to point out that the Most High's marital status, Yahweh's status of having more than one people or anything like that is like not up for debate. No. It was us. We were supposed to be with one God. We were supposed to be with Yahweh, the Most High, the I Am, and we were not doing that. So it's mentioned, adultery is mentioned in the Quran that many times, and it's always about Israel.
Yes.
And we know in Torah and in the prophets and things like that you're going to see that same narrative come up again and again about what we had going on. So yes, a man bringing in another wife is not adultery. It doesn't matter if you knew he was going to bring it in. It doesn't matter whether or not he consulted you and asked your opinion. It doesn't matter whether he surprised you and just brought this woman home or anything. None of that matters. It's not adultery. It doesn't matter if he cheated on you, because cheating is something that happens. It does exist. But it is simply not adultery.
It's not adultery.
He's not adulterous unless she herself was married.
Absolutely. And here's another thing. In Islam, how can you say a man has committed adultery because he has slept with another woman without you knowing? But that same man can have right-hand possessions and an unlimited amount of them. He can have slaves. Although we like to say, oh, well, this is 2017. We don't have slaves. Prove it, Martania. Google it.
Oh, no.
It's not the case. Muslims still have slaves all over the Middle East, and that's just what it is. So in Islam, a man can have up to 4 wives, but he can also have an unlimited amount of right-hand possessions. That could be what he wants. Doesn't matter. That's something you have to deal with. So how can you say that man is committing adultery, but he can also have right-hand possessions, and he doesn't have to let you know? The Prophet Muhammad himself made it so there's hadith about him where a man came to him and said, I want to marry this other woman, but my wife will leave me. She'll have a fit. It will harm her spiritually and emotionally. The Prophet Muhammad said, well, don't tell her right now. You go marry that woman, but you don't have to tell your wife right now. So how can you say that what that man did was not permissible? What the Prophet Muhammad himself made that permissible. Now, whether you feel like it's right or wrong, whether you have a debate about if hadiths are something to adhere to or not, that's something else. But on its face, it's not adultery, so we really shouldn't make it adulterous.
Yeah, you can't call it what it's not. It's not that.
Can't call it apple and orange.
So here is my suggestion to my sisters that are going through this, because we are hearing a lot of this from many different people and from many different walks of life, and it's genuinely sad. A little bit about us. I saw the benefit. Well, me and my husband saw the benefit in polygyny together. We learned about it together, and I talk about that on my channel and everything. So our situation is different. He didn't bring in somebody on me against my will. You see what I'm saying? So that wasn't a situation that we had. So the way we all relate is different. I was totally aware. I was accepting, and this is something that I wanted for my life, and that was something that she was looking for in her life, and that was something that he also agreed to look for in his life. So that's why we're here. But a lot of these situations happen. The man is the one that comes to the woman and says that he wants another wife. So my suggestion to my sisters is, when that happens, to definitely pray, but educate yourself on polygyny and look for positive representations of polygyny. Because I promise you, what it seems to me is that a bunch of y'all that have been brought into this negative, in a negative fashion, please understand that I consider it a negative fashion for your husband to quote unquote force you, use coercion, to use secrecy and to betray you and things like that. I do feel like it's negative, but I think it's bad to come into this that way. It's hard. That's a bad foundation to come in on.
It's bad.
You know, so but I'm telling y'all, rather than crying and everything, if you could just start working on changing yourself now, first of all, and understand that there's a chance this man 10, like I said, 3, 5, 10, 20, 22 years down the line may want another woman in his life. Understand that you have a job to perform as a wife. In Torah and in the Quran, you know, wives have a position. And they have things that they do, and there are laws and things like that.
Polygyny is not a reason for divorce.
No,
it's not. It's not an acceptable reason for divorce.
No, it's
chances are you will not get a cooler.
Right, and see, Muslims can divorce, but we're not allowed to divorce unless the husband relieves us of our position. Pretty much, that's kind of what it is. So if he hasn't relieved you of your position yet, you have things that you have to perform. You still have to continue to be a wife. You still have to continue to be a mother. So my suggestion is you get into your Torah studies and you learn your Bible and you pray and you focus on your relationship with the Most High, because when you made your vows to that man, you already know that those vows were made before the Most High. And I don't care if your marriage vows happen in the bedroom. I don't care if they happen in front of an entire assembly of people. I don't care. You made your vows. You agreed to be married to that man, and you've married that man. I feel it's very callous for a man to do a woman like this, but you have married a callous man. You're going to have to accept that. And you are going to have to understand that you are not the first. You will not be the last. This happens, and it has happened since the beginning of all of this. So you need to take joy in your children, and take joy in your duties as a wife, and continue to do these things and be the best wife you can be, because you don't want to sin or find yourself in sin based on some perceived wrong that he's done to you. I mean, I don't know, how do you expect to look at the Most High on Judgment Day and him find out that you did what you did? He already knows, but you did what you did because of what he did. How does that look on you? So you just commit. Don't do that. You keep yourself a good, righteous Proverbs 31 wife. That is what you are to do. And you be a good mother to those kids, and be a good role model to those children and younger sisters around you, and do what you're supposed to do. If he hasn't stopped being a husband towards you, you don't get to stop being a wife. You don't get to stop being a wife towards him, even if he does stop being a husband towards you. I know that sounds hard, but he's got his rules and laws, and you got your rules and laws. Islam is different. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. But you over here. This is what you gotta do.
Yes,
so
she's right.
You pray, you get yourself together, and you go ahead and you continue to be the type of Hebrew woman that those Israelite women that have passed us in the past have been. Sarah, Rachel, Leah, all these sisters. There was another one too who her co-wife used to make fun of her, girl, because she was barren, and the other one could have children. She would make fun of her. She would cry and pray. There you go. You pray. And then Most High gave her a baby of her own, but still, you know.
If you cannot do these things as a Hebrew woman or as a wife, I mean, there are a ton of pointers Muslim women can take from Hebrew women and how their marriages are set up. I would like to say, if you feel that you are in a marriage and it is oppressive, you as a Muslim woman are instructed to fight your oppressor. If you can't handle it, if you want to kill yourself, want to kill your kids, cause harm to your husband, leave. There's no sin on you with leaving. Because here's the thing. When you're stressed out and you're depressed, you want to kill yourself, you want to go on a hunger strike and all these different things, what position does it put your husband in? All that does is make him run to the other woman that he's courting or he's married to. And you will find yourself on a losing end. So it's just a losing battle, and I don't advise it.
There is one stipulation where Israelite women can leave, and that's when he has diminished your rights as a wife.
Yes, and we've seen these instances in these groups. These men marry a woman, leave the country for 6 months. Now in Islam, a man can leave for 1 year, 365 days, before a woman can just walk away and just without a divorce, without any of that, and just say she was abandoned. Abandonment happens. If abandonment happens, you have no food, no clothing, no shelter for you, your children, and your husband has he in New Jersey hanging out or something like that for extended amounts of times. I think you should be able to leave, right?
Yeah.